guys. Well, hey, first of all, thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited because this is our first Pick Money podcast, our first one. So, Dave, give you some. Well, first of all, Dave Anderson, my buddy. Welcome, Dave. Say hi, Dave.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing amazing. Dave Anderson is a life changer. The reason Dave's on here with me is because, well, first of all, when I started the first podcast, and this is my last rebranding, Dave, but I'm never afraid to make a change, ever. So the first one was called Punch Me in the Face because I like getting punched in the face, and I like punching guys in the face, full transparency. You know, you like to fight. I don't mind getting hit. So I enjoy all aspects of it, all right? And I had a guy sit down one day, and he's like, man, isn't it hard to talk about being punched in the face and everything you do? And I'm like, yep, that's true. Then I was talked about closing, conquering. We did that. And then I'm sitting around one day, Dave, and some people that I know real well, and we're doing a meeting, and I'm asking them to talk, and everybody's talking about what your passion in life, Sean, has been, is teaching people to go out there and pick a better path, to pick money, to understand what they can do. It doesn't mean money solves everything, but no matter who you are in a capitalistic society, you got to pick money at times. The reason Dave Anderson is my first guest, a lot of guests, I could have started with a lot of different people. This man changed my life. I had a lot of people that were speaking around my life, but not into my life. I had a lot of people that I didn't have any business acumen when I started in business. I didn't have any experience. I've told you, Dave, I read your book. If you don't make waves, you'll drown. And I was like, hell yeah. This is the kind of guy. And then I've read about everything you've written. I've read your new book, which we're going to talk about. And I was put off from reading before I read your books. I was put off from reading because it was a lot of pontification by people that hadn't done anything. You have good friends of yours, Dave, that I will not mention by name, that I don't read their stuff. They just write. That's what they do. They dictate stuff. They put it in a book. It's their new bestseller. Except they ain't done shit but write. Dave, you're different. You've changed my life. We've had the insurance company. I built a business of real estate, sold that, exited successfully, waste management, life insurance. Dave has been at our annual convention in life insurance since, I think, the second year. You're the only repeat speaker. Not only are you the only repeat one, you're coming on like year 9 or 10. So we like you a hell of a lot. So I want to welcome you to Pick Money Podcast, Dave, as our inaugural guest. And I also would love it if you could share a little bit about, because I like everybody to know who they're dealing with. If you don't know who Dave Anderson is, you've been missing out. Just a little bit of who you are and how you got to where you are. And I have some very specific questions that'll help these men and women learn how to pick their own money in their own life as they're making their decisions.
I'd love to. It's an honor to be on your inaugural deal here, man. That's great. But I'm like you. I'm in the trenches guy. I mean, my family's restaurant business went out of business, and I was 19 and broke, and I moved into a place, and it was a tough economy. I got 3 jobs selling insurance door to door, little $5,000 burial policies, and then my third job was. That was 2 of my jobs. My third job was delivering cases of corn tortillas to restaurants at night for 50 cents a case. I mean, I listen, there's honor in all work, right? And then I fell in love with sales. I mean, door-to-door stuff is tough. But then I had a guy say, hey, I'm making good money in the car business. And I moved into the car business, Sean, and started selling cars. And I tell you what I got excited about. It was easy to get ahead because people didn't want to work. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to stay consistent. They didn't want to take care of people. So it was a very easy business to get ahead in. And I loved it. I moved up into management. This was in Texas, moved out to California 26 years ago. And the company I was running got bought by a public company, wasn't fun anymore. And so I started Learn to Lead 25 years ago with my wife, and just teaching principles that had helped me build business, all in the trenches, nuts and bolts stuff, nothing academic. I've written 16 books. The 16th one just came out 2 weeks ago. I've been blessed to speak in 21 countries, all kinds of audiences, Sean, because principles are principles, man. I mean, principles work if you work the principles. So we work with athletes. I'm a mental trainer, mental skills trainer for different college basketball teams and some pros, getting your mindset right. My last 3 books have been on mindset. We're based in Southern California now, and we have a training center here. Some of your people have been to our sessions at the training center. So I just want to help people get better so they can get their lives better and then get their marriage better. They get their families taken care of better. They can get their business better. And it's all about looking in the mirror, really. I mean, my philosophy is accountability. They call me Mr. Accountability. And that's, people don't want to take that today. I mean, this is the age of blame, which makes you weak and holds you back. But I like talking about stuff, and it gets a little bit in your face. And I think that's why it resonates with you, because you're a straight talk guy. And I think it's real and it's applicable. What I like about what I do is the stuff I talk about, you can start doing it right away. So it's been a fun journey. It was never a master plan. It kind of evolved. We have a nonprofit foundation now where we do a lot of cool stuff, and that's very rewarding. But I'm pumped about the new book, and pumped that you texted me and said, hey, man, I'm loving this book. Because, you know, you've got a high standard. And if it's resonating with you, I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Well, you know, a couple things, Dave, about it. It does resonate with me, and I think because I want that accountability. You know, I think the thing is I'm always seeking that accountability, and my question, one of the questions I got for you is, you've been really good. You know, I had a group discussion today, and I said, hey guys, let me ask you something. The house that I was looking at the other day as an investment is on the market at $5.9 million, and it's worth 3.75. So I asked this group of 500 people, why did the realtor list it at that price? And the chats, I can see them, and the first one is greed, the second one is wants to make all this stuff, and I'm waiting, and I ask a few people individually, nobody has the right answer. And I say, guys, the realtor's weak. The home was worth 3.75. The dad died. Dad was 92. You know what 92-year-old people do? They die. Like, he's 92. Like, they die. You don't, like, that's a hell of a run. Like 92. You know what I mean? So like the son's probably 72, right? Like and we got him, and the house is only what it's worth, and things don't sell only when they're overpriced. People buy things all the time. So I said, that agent didn't want to tell the guy the truth. Now they're on month 3 or 4, and they're calling me every other day because I looked at it twice as an investment. And I said, I will give you 3.75. That's what it's worth. I'll knock it down, put a couple million into it, sell it for 8. It ain't that complicated. Like, I know what I'm going to. So, Dave, you have taught so many people, because I agree with you that there's so much of this crap going on nowadays, and there is. Like, it's never my fault. Everything gone wrong in my life is my fault. Every failed business, personal, my fault. 100% my fault. Help. You know, what is when Dave Anderson is walking into a room and trying to get people to get all this stuff out of their head and understand the power of accountability, you know, as everybody's listening to you today, because what I find, Dave, is one of the reasons people can't go make the living they want is they just won't hold themselves accountable. And I think it was Roosevelt said, like, you want to whoop the ass of the person that's not doing it, it's you. Like, look in the mirror, you're the problem. Like, you got to kick yourself in the behind because it's you. I want your deep dive take on how does everybody understand, number one, how important the accountability is, because we all say we understand it, but we don't do it. And number two, how to take action to actually hold yourself accountable and what that does for your life.
Oh, yeah. You see, letting yourself off the hook just to make you feel good temporarily so you can assume the victim's cloak and suck your thumb and assume the position and waddle through life like a victim, that's a false kindness. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're not going to grow coddling yourself. Blame makes you weak. Blame is the anti-focus. It strips you of your personal power because you only have power when you're focused on things you can control. Your attitude, your character, your work ethic, the processes you follow, if you'll grow, if you'll put in the work, you can control that stuff. And so if you're going to not focus on that or take responsibility for that and just blame whatever, your parents, the government, your boss, then you lose all your power because now you're at their whim. So we have to understand how important it is to own it. Unless you face it, you won't fix it. If you don't acknowledge it, you won't change it. Listen, we should fear no man more than ourselves. We all carry our greatest enemy within us, and we've got to learn how to get out of our own way. And in order to do that, you've got to start taking responsibility for your life. We all go through stuff. You got a story, I got a story. Everybody that's listening's got a story. Now, you can get hung up on the story, or you can make the pain pay. And so you can learn the lessons, and you can get stronger, wiser, better because of it. And so, okay, based on that, what didn't feel good? Wasn't great. I made some big mistakes. Here's how I'm going to make it pay me. All right. I'm going to get stronger, wiser, better. So you got to understand that the only way you're going to grow is if you start taking responsibility for your actions. We all go through conditions, but it's your decisions, not conditions. It's your decisions that ultimately are going to determine how far you go and how fast you get there. So the good news is you can control your decisions. So if you're not, that's your fault. And the good news is if it's your fault, you can fix it. Okay, so if it's mama's fault, you can keep blaming. But if you'll say, you know what, I made some bad decisions. I didn't develop discipline. I didn't listen. And so, you know what, I don't have to do that again. I can learn from that. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. I'm going to make some progress. I don't know a 100-step plan to get out of this mess, but I know the next one right thing I can do now. And I'm going to take responsibility for that next one right thing I can do now. I'm going to master that moment in front of my face. Now, here's what you have to do. Once you decide to do that, you cannot hold yourself accountable without clarity. So you got to get really clear as to what that success is going to look like every day. What are your routines going to look like? What are you going to expect from yourself? Because if you don't have a standard for yourself, the question is accountable for what? And Sean, I think this is why people leave their goals kind of vague, because if they leave them general and vague, they don't have to feel bad if they don't hit them. So there's no winning, there's no losing, there's just trying. Well, that's a strategy of surrender. That's the language of losers. So you got to get clarity for yourself. I think one of the best things you can declare is, you know what? Here's something I can control. I'm going to do the best I can at whatever I do. And it's going to start from the minute I wake up in the morning. I'm going to expect more from me. I'm going to train my brain not to do less than I can, and then to excuse it for some ridiculous excuse. And I talk about that in the book. I said, you wake up in the morning and you make your bed, and that's a win. And I was talking to an athlete one time, and you'll appreciate this. I said, if you're going to work with me, you're going to start the morning with a win. You're going to start the morning doing your best, not being sloppy. You're going to start the morning with that simple win that makes you feel better about yourself. He said, man, what's the big deal about making the bed? I said, you're missing the point. It's not the made bed. It's the person you become in the process of making it. Someone who doesn't excuse less than their best. Someone who doesn't compromise, cut a corner, excuse it with some ridiculous, language of loser excuse. Someone who can be disciplined. Someone who can follow a process. Someone who builds confidence early in the morning. And then you're done with your dishes. You're going to put them in the dishwasher. You're not going to leave them in the sink. And you're going to put some good stuff in your mind. And you're going to hydrate yourself. And you're going to start stacking these 8, 9, 10 wins before you're in front of your first customer. Most people start stacking losses when they wake up. But see, once we decide, listen, wherever I'm at, I may not be great at it, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to give all I have to what I've got. And once that becomes your standard, now you can hold yourself accountable for it. You either did or you didn't, and you face it and you fix it. Here's the cool thing, Sean. A lot of people don't understand how the brain works. When you start doing your best in every little arena that you're in, all right, you're training your brain that that's your standard. You and I, we're smart guys, but like everybody else, we only got one brain, right? We only got one brain. So you're either training your brain to do your best or to do less than your best, and that's okay. Now, all this conditioning that you do with every decision you make, you may be doing it in very minor areas of your life, like making a bed or leaving your dishes in the sink, or whether you hydrate in the morning or not. But what happens is you only got that one brain. So now your brain is in a higher stake situation. and that conditioning is going to show. So if you've taught it to be sloppy, if you've taught it not to do all it can, if you've taught it to excuse less than your best, when you're trying to close that deal, when you're making those calls, that's what's going to hijack your behavior. And so it's these little decisions we make away from work, away from our arena. Like if you're an athlete, you got your arena. Away that influence how well we execute when we're in that arena. That's why I've talked about at your convention before. How you do anything is how you do everything because of the conditioning. And so you start to hold yourself accountable by deciding, you know what? I'm going to give all I have to what I've got, no matter what I'm doing. I'm going to do my best. That's going to be my standard. I'm going to get clear about what that looks like daily. If I fall short, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to pick myself up, and I'm going to take another shot. But you can't hold yourself accountable without that type of standard, without that type of clarity. Most of us, we give ourselves suggestions. I should really try harder. We need to create standards that we hold ourselves accountable for and then try to live up to those every day. That's where accountability starts, brother. Clarity.
I fear no man more than I fear myself. I'm my own greatest enemy. Like that's, and I think, Dave, those are some of the things that I think your books and your training help instilled in me, because I think, I was talking to a coach the other day. Coach is a pretty decent size athletic program. And I said, do the kids know you love them? And he said, how? I said, yeah, they do. I said, well, how? He said, I'm always honest with them. I said, okay, but have you asked them? Because sometimes they don't like, hey man, do you think, when I say that, because people told me, Dave, and they've told you, like, you got people that smile, Dave, pat you on the back, go, man, I love you, Dave. And you're like, no, you don't, fool. You stab me in the back the minute you have a chance. No, you do not. You don't do anything to help me in any capacity, even though I help you. You're very one way, but you know that. So we all have those experiences. So when you're holding people accountable and you're looking for mentorship, or you're looking to read something, or you're looking to be, you're trying to grow, you have to be challenged. I'm blown away. I'm like, why are you listening to that person? They're never making you uncomfortable. That's what you talked about. And they're actually doing you disservice. So that was amazing. Thank you. Dave, we talk a lot when I'm talking about pick money, is picking the right vehicle. Call it what you want. The right opportunity. Is sales for everybody? No. Is meant no. Like, we're talking about things that don't require talent. Like you got these you do a lot with basketball, high level basketball guys. Dave, my mindset's right. I'm focused. I'm a worker. There was no chance. Basketball hates Sean Mike, and Sean Mike hates basketball. The game hated me. I played in high school, run around a lot, box people out, rebound, get the ball to the guys that shoot a lot. My coach is like, don't shoot my basketball. Get it back to them. And if there's a problem or a foul, raise your hand. I want you to get the foul, not these other guys. They score too much. If a fight breaks out, you better hit somebody. And I was like, that part I get, because you can get kicked out of the game. We're okay with it. We talk a lot about picking the right vehicle. You said, man, I never set out to do this. Like, I liked sales. So, you had these other jobs. You loved sales. But then you found your way into what you're doing now. You picked it. You made that decision. A lot of folks, Dave, are trying to figure out what to pick, whether it's more time here, more time with their buddies, more time at their job. Hey, I want a better life, but how do I pick? What vehicle should I get in? How do you help people kind of take the talents and the strengths they got and make a decision where the best utilization of their time would actually be?
Great question, Sean. And I think you have to dismiss some old sage advice that a lot of people give you. I hear this at graduation ceremonies. These speakers get up and say, just follow your passion. Well, what if you got a stupid passion? I mean, if you got a passion for pot or porn or liquor, okay, you can follow that. That's probably not going to get you to where you want to go. You follow your gifts. You follow your gifts, you follow your strengths. And so, listen, I didn't have a passion to sell. I needed a job, man. I needed a job. And so I got in sales because it was a job. And I found out, you know what? I really love helping people. I'm a good communicator. They believe me. Speaking has always kind of come easy to me. And I'm pretty good at this because I keep my word and I keep my commitments and I really do care. And let me tell you something, sales started changing my life, not because it was a passion, but because I found out, hey, if I work at this, I can really be great at it. And when I started to live in a different type of house and drive a different type of car and wear different type of clothes and take my wife to a different type of restaurant, I mean, I became very passionate about sales. Now, I didn't start out passionate about it, but because I followed my gifts, and I don't have very many, so I bet I narrowed mine down real quick. I mean, you kind of figure out what your gifts are early in life, what comes easy to you that someone else may not be so great at. If you're coachable, that could be a gift. You may not feel like you have a great talent for sales, but if you will listen and you will adjust and change and put in the reps, if you got to put in the repetition, you put in the work. Look, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And toughness beats talent when talent isn't tough. And so follow your gifts. Do you love helping people? Do you love making a difference in people's lives? Does that make you feel good? Does that give you a sense of fulfillment? Because if it does, the money's going to come, man. Don't chase the money. Chase your gifts and the money will chase you. Chase making a difference, chase making an impact. And so people have it all wrong. I'm going to follow my passion. Sean, I got a passion for singing. The problem is I can't sing. So if I tried to make a living singing, I'd be living out here on a park bench with the rest of the LA homeless bums, looking for handouts. Yeah, and so it's like, if I'd have followed that passion, we would never be having this conversation. All right. So man, follow your gifts. And I think it's a gift to really have a love for people. Not everybody does. To want to make a difference, to have that like burning within you, to want a better life. And I think that makes you humble and hungry. And brother, if that's you, you can get great at this and then you become very passionate about it. It's like you wouldn't want to do anything else, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, Dave. And I think, it's same with me. Like I loved and was passionate about the results sales gave me. I'm competitive. So that was a strength. Like I'm very competitive. So I'm like, okay, there are leaderboards. Cool. I'm done playing ball competitively. I want a leaderboard. All right. Sales has it. Awesome. Guys were talking junk. And I was like, man, they ain't even any good. I'm going to steamroll these fools. Cool. Then I had the leaderboard. But also, you're right. The result and what I was able to do for my kids and the people that depend on me and give back money. So I think, but a big part of it too is, you hit the nail on the head, man. There's so many people that have passions for things that are literally anti what they state they want. Like they want this amazing life, and that's whatever. I just wanted to be free financially. Mine was never, I need to own this. If you have it, great. I meet people, I need to make $100 million, or I'm going to sell a company. I need to make $1 million a year by the time I'm 28. I'm like, I didn't make $1 million a year until I was in my 40s. And I never set out to go like, I have to make this or make this or make that. I just wanted to be able to live my life and provide for those that I love and care about and not worry about the money. That's all I want to do. I want to be like, okay, they want to do that? Cool. Want to go to college there? Cool. Want this opportunity abroad? Cool. Like whatever they want and not go, how much? How much? Like it was a good thing. You know what I mean? Like you need medical care. Cool. Go here, mom. Well, I don't care what it, just go there. They're the best. Go there, right? We've talked about sales a little bit. I want you, Dave, you're an unbelievable salesman. If you were going to hand out one piece of advice, that is plenty, but if all these aspiring salespeople here, men and women, maybe they're aspiring to train people, they're trying to get better at sales themselves and then train, and you were to say, man, if I could leave y'all with one thing from a sales standpoint, because again, okay, I picked an opportunity, great. I don't care what opportunity you pick, you got to be able to sell. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you have to be able to sell. I mean, you're a parent, you sell your kids on stuff. You're a coach, you sell your athletes on stuff. You're always selling. Salespeople sell their products. What would be your one piece of advice, Dave, you'd give to all of us as it pertains to sales?
It was something I learned from Jim Rohn, and it made all the difference in my life. I never went to college. I was very much into personal development. So my advice would be this: work as hard on yourself as you do on your job. A lot of people work hard on their job. They're not working on themselves. They're not becoming more skilled. They're not improving their mindset. They're not developing better habits. They're not increasing their knowledge. Your business will get better when you get better. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Go to work on you. There's no better investment anyway. and the confidence, the rhythm, the skills that come with that. And and when I say work on yourself, I mean with intention. Like, what skills do you really need to get great at? I always narrow it down to, like, listen, these 3 or 4 things, there's like 20 things I need to be good at. These 3 or 4 things are going to make or break me. So I got to put in a lot of reps there. You do not get better at something avoiding it. You don't get better at closing, avoiding closing situations. You don't get better at phone calls, not making phone calls. And so you've got to put in more reps. My sensei taught me one time, he said, Dave, he said, don't practice the things that mean the most until you get it right. Practice it until you can't get it wrong. He said, it's a totally different level. He said, practice it until you can't get it wrong, until you don't have to think about it. It comes natural. It's part of your nature because you put in so many reps. You know how to overcome that objection. You know how to close that deal. You know how to anchor that appointment, whatever the case is. So part of working on yourself is figuring out what are those 2 or 3 things out of the 20 I really gotta get good at, but these are the ones that are going to make or break me, and become exceptional at that. And that means you got to put in your work. You use your downtime to get ahead, use your downtime to get an edge, use your commute time, everything you can. If you're going to watch an hour of television at night to be amused, then match it with an hour of impact. Work on an hour on yourself. Whether it's exercise, whether it's reading, whether it's an online course, you should always balance an hour of entertainment and amusement with an hour of impact. Life's about impact and fulfillment, not just being entertained and amused. So work on you, man. It's going to get better when you get better. And that's the thing about the book is this isn't a business book that I wrote. This is not it's the least business book I've written. It's a get your life right, so you can get your work right. Get yourself right so you can get your life right type of book. It's a really work on you type of book. And a lot of people don't. They work hard on their job. They're not working on themselves. And they wonder why it doesn't work out, man. Work on you. You gotta invest in you, the time, the money, the reps.
Well, it's funny, Dave, because when I decided to go out and be completely independent as an entrepreneur, I was 36, and everybody around me was talking about this. That knew what they were, talking about me developing me, and I dove into that. Like, I jumped in with both feet. I was like, dude, I'm in. And the funny thing was, I think I realized that time one of my best gifts was I was coachable, because I'm like, okay, I've had a lot more success than these other people, and they're fighting everybody that's doing better than them is telling them. I'm fighting none of it. Matter of fact, my only struggle is like, tell me more. I'll do whatever y'all tell me to do. I'm in, because I want the results you have, and I don't know how to get there, right? So it's funny you said about the giftedness, because that was one of the things I remember being in a meeting 15 years ago, and I said, that's my giftedness. I'm coachable. Like I loved playing ball, but I also loved being coached, and I think they love coaching me because, like, tell me to do it, I'll do it. Like, I'm in. I'm all team. I don't care who gets the credit. I don't care whose name's in the paper. I didn't get up in the morning, and I know nowadays nobody does that. It's all online, but I didn't go to my mailbox and my apartment complex down below the bottom of the street and look for them and see whose name was in the paper. I just wanted to win, But guys, what Dave was saying is, it's so easy to just miss it, because if it's about you, then it can hurt. If it's about you, I had a guy the other day said, I'm going to join the company. Hey, I want you all going to recruit me, but I'm going to sell this product, not that one. And you go, why? Well, that one sucks. I go, there's millions of people selling it and they're good. So what is it about you that precluded you from selling it? Because it's not the product, it's you. And there's so much power in knowing there's not a bad lead, there's not a bad prospect, there's just you. Like, when I became a social worker, which is funny because when people are like, you were a social worker, I'm like, yeah, dude, 14 years. I'd meet with parents. I worked with abused and neglected children. And they'd be like, you have to understand, he's just a bad kid. And I'm like, no, he just has shitty parents. There's bad adults, but a 5-year-old ain't bad because he was born bad. She was not born bad. They were not. They have you as parents. My boss would call me in and go, did you tell them they were shitty parents? I'm like, yeah, they're shitty parents. And he's like, well, you can't tell them that. I'm like, I just did. They said the kid's shitty. They're labeling the kid. they're gonna make the kid feel bad, and they're shitty. And you know, Dave, when you look at it, and I want you to talk first of all, tell us about the new book, the name of the book, where they can find it. And it's funny you said that to me, because after I read it, and I didn't even pick that, like I was so entrenched in it. And then your message, you're like, well, it's really not a business book. And I'm like, you know what? It had a different flavor, but because you've always been talking about accountability, habits, the power, thought process, the things that defeat you, what's pulling against you. And I thought it was, the first time you started talking about breathing and sleep, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. And it's funny you said that to me. Then I started reading more about it. Then I started realizing, you know what? I want to be healthy. I'm doing all these other things to get healthy. Every morning I'm getting up, getting my wins. I work out for an hour and 20 minutes. I do the sauna. I do the cold plunge. Those are my wins. I win. Like, I'm good. Like, I win. I'd like to say I make my bed day, but I've never lied to you, and I'm not going to start lying to you now. That thing, I don't make it. It gets made, but I ain't the one making it, okay? But what I will tell you is that at the end of the day, as I read that book, I was like, this is about so much, but all of it comes back to if I can get better at everything he's talking about, my business will just get better because I will get better. Tell us more about the book, where to find it, how you came up with the title, because guys, when I'm telling you, and I don't do this a lot. Like I have people come on here. I've had people come on and go, can I promote something? I'm like, I don't know. If I've not seen it or read it, or I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure you're great, but I don't want to say that. And then somebody, but I was in it, writing notes out of it. It's been unbelievable. Tell us more about that, Dave, why they should pick it up, how you came up with the name, where they find it.
The name of it is Elevate Your Excellence, the power of doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Elevate your excellence. And it really kind of goes back to what I talked about. If you're doing your best in this area, it's going to carry over into other areas. If you're letting up in this area, that's going to carry over into other areas. And I do talk about how everything matters, how you breathe, how you hydrate, how you sleep, things we don't think about, but I want every edge, man. I want every edge, working on that mindset in the morning. One of the favorite chapters, and the book's only been out a couple of weeks. Before I got on, I just got an email from my publisher, Dave, the book is going crazy. We're going to do another reprinting. How many events do you have coming up? So it's resonating with people. But the feedback, like how to have good, crappy days, that's one of the chapters. People told me you can't name a chapter that. I said, I can name it whatever I want because it's real world. How do you stay in the game when a bunch of stuff's not going well? And maybe it's not even your fault. Maybe you're doing all the right stuff. And sometimes, not every season is a harvest, right? But just real world stuff. How do you master the moment in front of your face? How do you start stacking wins from the minute you get up in the morning? Maybe I think that the chapter, if I look back, that probably impacted my life the most is Nothing is Neutral. Because it took me a while before I got a high enough regard for my time. And when I started looking at life, at people that I hung around with, at activities that I engaged in, is that none of it's neutral. Man, if even in a small way, it's moving me closer to what I want to get, or it's making it harder to get there. I started becoming a little more discerning, not judgmental, but discerning. Because I can't get more time, brother, and neither can you. So we got to redeem the time we have. So we got to trade it in for something more valuable. And I started to do more smart things with my time. And so it's basic stuff. It's like when you walk in to your first appointment, you want to have already stacked 8 or 9, 10 wins. Some people stack 8 or 9 losses. And they walk into their first appointment and they're digging themselves out of the hole. They've got no momentum. I think momentum is earned. This book helps you start to earn your own momentum, not to wait for something to happen so you get it, for that break. From the minute you wake up in the morning. From the minute you wake up, you can start stacking those wins. And I want people to see in the book how every decision you make matters. How every decision you make either lives up to the standard of doing your best or you're compromising, and how that is going to impact you in a big way when the stakes are high. It's creating awareness. It's giving you tools. The second favorite chapter for most people, probably the feedback we're getting so far, is fine-tuning your routines and rituals. So, everybody has routines and rituals, but what they are determines where you go in life, right? And some people have sloppy routines. I mean, a routine's a block of time you set aside to do something. The rituals are the steps you do within that routine. A lot of people have work routines, but the steps are stupid. They're not doing effective things. They're busy. They're not productive. I hurt a guy's feelings the other day. He said, "Well, I have this routine." He said, "I've been going to the gym 3 days a week for 3 years." I said, "Well, nobody can tell. How would we know? What do you do? What do you do when you're there?" So you could say you got the routine, but do you stop when the sweat starts? Do you stop? Do you talk to people? So always looking at the routine when we commute, the routine when we come home. How can we maximize that? How can we get stronger, wiser, better because of that? And it brings a lot of this to people's awareness. It's immediately applicable. And I think the final chapter is the one that puts the big exclamation point. Make EdMed a lifestyle. You know EdMed, EDMED.
Yes, I do.
Every day means every day. And there's just certain stuff you got to do every day. Now, how you feel about doing it's irrelevant. But if you want to get to where you want to go, you do it anyway, and then you feel better because you did it. And it's just developing those diligent daily disciplines to develop EdMed as a mindset. So it doesn't matter what you do. It applies to you. It doesn't matter what industry. Doesn't matter if you're running a household. And all these are life principles that you can apply to your business, that you can apply to your marriage, you can apply to raising your kids. So it's called Elevate Your Excellence, the power of doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. It's on Amazon, obviously, Barnes & Noble. It's in the stores. It launches in all the Hudson bookstores and the airports next month. So it took them a while to get them out there, but there's a lot of bookstores and airports that Hudson has. It's going to be there. Our website, learntolead.com, has it. And it's downloadable. You can get the ebook, you can get the audio version. So, the book you don't read won't help you. And this one can start to help you immediately. But it's going to be stuff that's been right in your face for a long time that you've overlooked and didn't realize how important it was. And if you started doing it, what difference it could make. You're going to be surprised by the low-hanging fruit that's available for you to grasp onto right away and get better with this book.
Well, and guys, I couldn't recommend it enough. I mean, it's one of those ones I picked up, read, and I was doing something the other day and just didn't put it down because it made sense to me. Also, reading with purpose and reading with intention. Because I've caught myself in the past where I'm reading to read. And I'm done. I'm like, all right, like that, yeah, that was pretty good. Like, so really being intentional. I love the way you break it up too, Dave, where you're like the key points where you that I think that allows a lot of people. I was showing it to my buddy the other day, and I told him he can't have mine. He has to buy one. So we don't do that kind of shit. You got to buy your own. Ain't nobody giving his sharing his hand-me-down books. Get the damn book from Dave. Be an adult. And we'll sell a bunch at our convention, so you better bring a lot of those there. So we'll be. And when you talk about EdMed, we have I got to sign them other room here. Dave can't take you there now. We're not that mobile, but it's EdMeft. We got every day means every motherfucking day. So it's but really, it's funny because one of the things we're trying to do, Dave, people like you and people like me, is I never thought when you were talking, teaching, or writing that you were saying that you were better than anybody. You were saying you just wanted more, you worked harder, you were more discerning, you dealt with less bullshit, you were more accountable. You didn't ever say that anybody can't achieve that. And to me, that's true leadership. And I think what breaks my heart, what we're going to work hard on here on the Pick Money podcast, is getting people to actually believe that. Those are myth busters. I think I see a lot of folks. The first time I went into a meeting of people that were making a certain amount of money, and I got to watch, and I watched and listened. I didn't just watched and listened. I remember I left, and a guy said to me, "What do you think?" I said, "Not much." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Not much." I'm in that room. Like I can there's no discernible talents. There's just hard work and attitude. And I can be in that room, be at the top of that room. So can every single person watching this. So this idea of this guy's great and he talks down to me. No, he's an idiot with a low self-image, So Dave, you are literally the man. I love you. If y'all want to hear him talk, he'll be at our event in Dallas. So that'll be great. You don't want to miss that. We'll drop a link in here. Elevate Your Excellence. That we'll drop a link in here if you can find his book and get some for your team too. It's the other thing about people. I always, if I liked it, I got it. And then you want to build people up, I'd buy it and give it to 20, 30, 40 people on my team. I'm like, you're buying them $1,000 in leads and you're not going to buy them one book. The book's probably a lot more valuable. I mean, they got to build themselves, you said earlier, to build up their business. So I got much love and respect for you, dude. I appreciate you. Dave's a badass, and he's also a legitimate badass. If you ever want to see him, like, he's big on, he'll like carries knives everywhere. Don't ever fuck with him. So I'm just letting you know that right now. So if you're looking to rob somebody, or you're like, if you're online and you're like, man, I want to see who's an easy target, he's not. So I'm just saying, like, he come at you with a knife thing. He got all the stuff, and he's already like a black belt. So badass in life, badass in business, outstanding human being. And Dave, thanks for joining us for our inaugural Pick Money podcast, brother.
What a pleasure. Love you, Sean. Look forward to seeing you soon, man. Thank you.
I love you too, man. A lot of respect. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate y'all. Hey, like, subscribe, share, and send this to people that need to hear it. You know they do.